Welcome to CMMS Radio, a podcast and general resource for all things CMMS, computerized maintenance management software, from selection to implementation to help you make better choices and have a successful CMMS journey. We'll bring in experts along the way to help us learn more about CMMS, facilities operations, and much more. If you need help with the CMMS project, send a message at CMMSradio.com using the What's on Your Mind link. Suggest a topic, share your CMMS story, or ask questions. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. We've got another great episode for you. We're at Brightly Illuminate out in Raleigh, North Carolina. We're bringing the best ideas to light. We have a couple of special guests for this episode. We are meeting with Rachel Bowman and Jeannine Frazier, and they're from Holland Home. That's in Grand Rapids, Michigan. They just got out of a session where they were making a presentation about all the great things that they do using TheWorxHub. What we want to do is get into more of the operational aspects, because they are in operations, about how they utilize software and how their team moves through the process to really accomplish great things at Holland Home. So first, I'm going to ask Rachel, how long have you been in this industry of operations management, and how did you get there? How did that all culminate for you in your life?
Sure. Actually, I've been in senior living for about 20 years, pretty much since I graduated from college. It was kind of funny how that happened. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I did not think I wanted to work in senior living, and that's where God put me. And have just really enjoyed it. My first experience on the operational side has been this position at Holland Home, so that's been great. And just loving it. I love everybody that we work with and the culture there. So, yeah.
Good deal. So now, essentially the same question for you, Jeannine, as far as how long you've been in operations and how you got there. Where did that actually start, like in your career, in your life?
Well, I actually stayed home for 18 years raising 4 children, and when I decided to go back to work, I was working part-time at the city library and moved into Holland Home almost 3 years ago. I love working with people. I love talking to people. I find people super curious, and I always want to know more about them, and this was just a great opportunity for me to talk to lots of different people.
It's good. I like talking to people and having great conversations, and I love journey stories. So when it comes to Holland Home, it's a large campus setting of buildings. You have 1,500 plus staff members, so I expect that your maintenance and operations team is pretty large. Do you find the culture, as far as how we connect the frontline workforce to the business and everything that needs to be done, really is for the patrons, the residents? Do they all participate in utilization of the platform easily? Like, in other words, user adoption tends to be a challenge for people using CMMS platforms, but it doesn't look like you have that issue.
No, we have about 130 people in our operations team. So we have operations, so our maintenance techs, as well as our own trade staff. So we have our own plumbers, our own HVAC guys, our own electricians on staff, which has been great. Depending on the manager, sometimes the manager is the one that's more in the software. When it comes to trades, that's true on their end, but on our end, the guys are really great about using the software. We haven't gotten to the point where our residents have a login yet. Part of that, I think, is just trying to keep those notes as clean as possible before we take that step. But I hope that answers kind of your question. So.
It does. So for you, Jeannine, when it comes to the utilization of the platform and how you kind of a day in the life gain visibility to what's happening, what is your initial approach? Like, you come in the morning, you want to kind of figure out what's going on. Do you pull up the system and maybe look at a dashboard, or do you have a certain approach to how you assess where are we at right now today?
Yeah, so when we first come in, we get any of the voicemails that might be waiting for us, and start right from there, putting in work orders, contacting staff with any emergency or emergent work orders that need attention. And then, yes, we pull up that dashboard. We look at workers' pulse, which is their workload, their work orders that they have open, or notes that we may need to add to any open work order, and contact them through there.
I was going to say there's a pending, so like people can put in a pending work order. So I know Jeannine's phenomenal about checking those pendings too, to kind of see what's happened overnight, what's been going on since we got in. We start at 7 a.m., so there's a little bit of time there that, you have the overnight shift and people that have started at 6 to kind of see what's going on.
Now, so this one I'm going to ask about with these campuses. So you have 3 different campuses, and they're all manageable on the platform, right? So you have visibility to all 3, but can you isolate a single campus and then see what specifically is happening there, what has happened, or maybe even what's coming up on the workload?
Yeah, that's actually one of the great things about the Pulse on the dashboard, is that we know which maintenance techs are assigned to each campus, so you can pull up their dashboard, see what's going on, see what their work orders are like. And that's really helpful if there's like a big issue with, multiple plumbing issues or multiple electrical issues, that you can pull up the Pulse, look at that maintenance person's information and see what's going on directly on their campus.
All right. So now I'm going to switch it over to Jeannine. When it comes to how the two of you collaborate on and run operations, do you separate workload so that you each have a specific focus area when it comes to different aspects of facilities and grounds maintenance?
We definitely have different roles or different ways that we use the TheWorxHub. There are scheduled work orders that need to be put in, assets like updating assets, maintaining that system, mapping, staff, hours. There is so much, and yeah, we do kind of tag team the system.
And so this would be for Rachel on the TheWorxHub. So I saw a lot of the TheWorxHub yesterday, and I saw the mapping. So is there a favorite aspect of the TheWorxHub, whether it be mapping or otherwise, that you tend to focus on when you're looking at and assessing what's happening?
Oh, there's so many things that are great about TheWorxHub. We do thoroughly enjoy the mapping. It's nice to even just know like your fire doors or where your security cameras are. You can map that all out on TheWorxHub. I'm trying to think of what else.
What I love about the mapping, if I can step in,
yes, please do.
If someone calls with a request and they name it by a room and you're searching for that room, there is a place where you can pull up the map and you can say, oh, is that across the hall from this room? Is that down the hall? Is that kitty corner? So the mapping allows us to get a full view of the building, because we're not in the buildings, we're in a corporate building, so we don't know the buildings like the staff at that campus. So it's kind of fun to kind of see where everything is.
Yeah, it gives you that opportunity to, in a sense, be there virtually.
Yes.
And you have that added visibility. Now, I'm curious because over the years, I've heard a lot of stories about senior living environments, healthcare environments, where you might get pop-in visits from maybe a commission.
Oh yes, state visits. Yes.
Now,
absolutely.
Do you have things, and I'll let you both answer this. Do you have things in place where you're, in a sense, or essentially prepared for that, where you could take that surprise visit and say, hey, let's go pull up this report, this dashboard, and gain that visibility? And I'm assuming, I'm going to add on top of this, that you have various risk categorization for, let's say, assets or maybe even areas?
Yeah, what's nice about TheWorxHub too is, when you're putting in a work order, there's a little box you can check if it's a compliance related. And so for us, that allows us to pull the reports that we need when, the state visits or when anyone else may pop in that needs that type of information. And then, yes, there's risk qualifiers that you can mark, but that compliance piece is a big thing. And then also just to make sure that all of those compliance ones are done prior to, starting your day. That's a good way to check out, like, what do we got going on? What's the most important? What's an emergent? What's compliance related? It's just so user friendly. This program is incredible.
So for Jeannine, I'm going to ask you a question that's maybe a little bit tough or blunt, but do you experience problems with work order oversight, meaning to say you come in on Monday and you find that many things have not been done? Because this can naturally happen in facilities operations. It's a fast, ever-changing environment, day to day, hour to hour, even. So
yes, we like to say we're reactive
Okay.
in operations.
Yep.
Yes.
And this herein lies the challenge with operations of any kind. For operational excellence, you have to be less and less reactive, more and more proactive. But for reactive strategies, do you have anything in place that allows you to quickly capture on that, let's say, Monday morning, everything that hasn't been done in the last week, so you can make those priorities for the maintenance team?
I think, as far as being reactive on a Monday morning, our maintenance techs, HVAC, we're all in kind of constant communication. We text each other a lot. We call. We use the TheWorxHub notes quite a bit. But mostly it's having the right staff to be receptive to us and not feeling like, oh gosh, we're bothering them because this, and this wasn't done. And owning it as a team. If something is behind, we own it all together, not just blame one person or that job didn't get done because so-and-so didn't complete it, just owning it.
Yeah, and if I could jump in on that too, TheWorxHub allows us to, so we have an automated report that comes every Monday, and it gives us the over 60-day due report. And so that goes to all of the managers. We're able to take a look at that and say, all right, what can we do as a manager now to help our staff, get these marked off the list? Or is there something that they need that we haven't given them, a tool or a resource that we haven't given them to get that effectively done? So
What I like about that, and any strategy that's similar, and why I brought it up, is oftentimes over the years, you'll tend to see people create work orders, issue work order assignments, and then they never look back. And that's where you actually are contributing to the problem. So you add that extra step where you have that visibility, and then with that report you're talking about, it sounds to me like it just gives you a direct opportunity to reprioritize what needs to be done now that was overlooked. And like you said, you can then reach out and say, I've noticed a few things here weren't done yet. Are there any things that I can get you?
right. Yep.
Instead of, hey, that wasn't done.
Right.
Right.
What do you need from me to help make you as successful as possible?
Now, do you also, so in facilities and grounds and everything in operations, do you have various maintenance managers and maintenance planners that are strategically placed?
Yep, we do. We have a manager at each campus, and they oversee their maintenance staff for that specific campus. And then
We also have a ground supervisor.
Yep.
And are you managing a combination of equipment types? So when I think about grounds on large campuses like this, you're going to have transport vehicles, maybe kind of like golf carts, but they're service carts. Mm-hmm. And you've also got the building equipment. And I'm assuming in this case there's some medical equipment on site as well?
There is, but we don't tend to the medical equipment. But we do have a designated or a person who takes care of maintenance on all of the vehicles and machinery. We're very lucky to have him. He's so knowledgeable, and when it comes to a point where he can't repair, if it's gone beyond the preventative maintenance, then we send it out. But the grounds guys are amazing.
And there's a lot. There's a lot between snowplows and lawnmowers and golf carts, and I mean, we could go on for days.
Do you do your own on-site services when it comes to the actual wintertime snow and ice?
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
yes.
Our grounds department
Yep.
we take a lot of pride in their plowing and
Shoveling,
and
salting.
salting abilities.
Yes.
And typically we go through 300 tons of salt in a winter. This winter has not been typical. It's been very atypical, so we haven't gotten much snow, which has been kind of nice.
Well, at some point or another, this year, next year, it's coming.
Yeah, it is.
Right, it will.
We know that it's Michigan. Now, question I had, you mentioned this one particular individual that's just phenomenal. And one of the things we talk about a lot on CMMS radio, at a conference like this, everywhere throughout the industry when we're talking about maintenance best practices, all these things, there's a real concern for the skilled labor shortage and the fact that a lot of our incredible, knowledgeable, and capable staffers, if you will, are going to be retiring, moving off into the next, chapter of their life. So I think the utilization of a platform like the TheWorxHub allows you to collect and curate some of the information or knowledge or even data points around how they do what they do. But do you have any strategies internally that allow for that individual or anybody else to pass on their learnings and tribal knowledge, if you will, to the up-and-comers, or even to document it and curate it yourself so it's available in libraries, written materials, or even narrative-type things?
Yeah, we are pretty blessed at Holland Home that we do have some apprenticeships. So, for example, if we have somebody who's a carpenter or somebody in the grounds department and they show an interest and a passion for, let's say, electrical, they can then work under our electricians, under an apprenticeship, and kind of get a taste for that. Holland Home is known for helping pay for people to get not only more education, but get those licenses that they need to be successful. So, yeah, we see the problem. We know the problem. Again, we are having we had 4 people retire this last year with a combined service of probably over 65 years. And so when you're losing those people, you have to come up with outside the box strategies of how do we replace them? How do we bring this next generation up? And I think apprenticeship is just huge. It's a huge opportunity. So
it's definitely one good strategy for that. And I think where you're located, there are a lot of people, generally speaking, that tend to be a little bit warmer when it comes to working in the trades and maybe even not having to go to college, but focusing on trade schools, apprenticeships, maybe even internships that lead to apprenticeships, pulling from maybe local high schools.
We do have a local trade school that's not far from us that teams up with the high schools. It's the tech center, and so that would be a key piece really for our human resources to kind of get in there. But we're so blessed to have them as well, and they have HVAC and plumbing and construction, and so that's a great opportunity to get in kind of to that younger group coming up through high school that is not interested in college. I have 2 sons of my own that are not college bound. They are very much trade school bound, so we're very proud of them for it.
It's good. And, the reason I'm always a fan of that is, either way, right? Go get educated, learn something, but with skilled trades and the idea that everyone really wants manufacturing to get stronger and stronger in the United States of America, it's critically important. But at all levels of maintenance and these trades, plumbing, electrical, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, it's so rewarding to have those skills and then be able to apply those skills.
We always say without our housekeepers and our maintenance and floor care, the state would come in and shut us down. It's that those staff members are the most important members at Holland
of our
Home.
team, and unfortunately they tend to be paid the least, which they are by far the most important.
Yeah, and that's, we all try to wrestle with that one too, and it's like, well, it's simple, pay them more. Well, I'm curious, when you run operations, do you incorporate maintenance and reliability programs where you have experts that are focused on overall asset performance and availability, or is it more that you really have accepted that you're in a reactive state and just have to be better at responding?
I think depending on what it is that either needs to be maintained or repaired. We have designated HVAC technicians and plumbers, and they do. And we also partner with some outside companies that do some of our preventative maintenance. But without our HVAC technicians, who are deeply involved in, they know. They can close their eyes and picture that air handling unit. They've taught me, because I didn't know what a condensing unit was until I started this job. And so we have those people that are dedicated to that. And our maintenance staff, we had two very young guys start last year, fresh out of high school, and both of the maintenance supervisor treat it like we're teaching them how to take care of their own home. We hope that they want to stay with us, but teaching young people how to value and take care of what is theirs by teaching them how to take care of these facilities, these people, the residents, has gone a long way.
Yeah. And it's rewarding to see that learning take place.
Yes.
And how they carry it forward, and then they go apply it. Now It becomes real knowledge, because you can learn as much as you want to, but if you don't do anything with it,
right,
it doesn't serve much of a purpose. So that's really what this is all about as well, is even with getting a CMMS, if you don't have good user adoption, it's not going to do you any good. I'm curious, within the platform, so this is a question around mostly assets and preventive maintenance, or maybe even some of the demand work where something did break. Are technicians documenting things like the workarounds and situations they see that do not match up with what, say, for example, manufacturer recommendations might be?
I think they do a really good job. I'm thinking mostly of our HVAC technicians, because I work with them on the assetting of all that equipment, and they know their equipment. I mean, the campuses are quite large, and we have an HVAC and an apprentice that handles two of our campuses, and they document well in the asset itself and also on the work orders. So they understand how important the system is, because as one said, at some point I'm going to be able to retire, and I want to be able to, I want to be proud of the job that I did while I was here and leave it for the next person.
Yeah. They are really good about documenting downtime or anything like that on the assets too, and tying those assets back into the work orders so that we can see, while this asset's had a lot of downtime this year, when we're looking at the budget for the next year, this is something that should go on there.
Yeah.
So.
One other thing, and I've talked to a lot of people about this today and throughout the years, where what you're doing, what you're managing with the platform and documenting and creating the data, it really helps for when you want to do those subsequent, say, build outs of next year, the next 3 years, the next 5 years. Do you tend to go that far out when you look at assets, asset performance, and potential end of life of an asset?
I think, WorxHub allows us to put in, the purchase date, how much it costs, and then, a warranty, so that they can run a report like, okay, we just put, in our 5 buildings with 8 apartments each, we just did all of those air conditioners and furnaces. What is the projected lifespan of those? How are we going to capital plan to replace those when they're needed? And, teaming up with outside contractors. So it has been very, very helpful.
It's interesting that you just talked about teaming up with outside contractors, because it's exactly the next question I was going to have, is if you're with the TheWorxHub. So for me, when I think about facilities with these big, large campuses and all these critical components, you've got your own in-house team, but there must at some point be outside contractors that are coming in to not just supplement, but actually do things that you couldn't possibly facilitate yourself. So it sounds like you've got that integrated into your work process. And I think that's a critical oversight that a lot of organizations make when they select solutions to manage their day-to-day operations, because they tend to think they don't factor in. But I've always seen that the contractors and vendors that provide said facility-related services or ground services, they're an extension of your team, And by empowering them with the technology to participate with you, it gets a little bit more seamless. Do you get much resistance from those contractors to use the platform with you? Or, here's the big one, does that not matter because it's set up so they can use what they use and it still communicates with you?
It's the latter,
Yeah,
yes. So
it
they
is,
send
100%.
they send the reports, and then we attach those reports to the assets.
Does that happen in real time, or you just have a couple of clicks and it's done?
Well, they said I have gotten the reports in my email, and then I just attach them to our assets. So it's a very seamless process. So
I know we're getting ready for the Brightly Illuminate mixers coming up, and then there's going to be some additional festivities tonight. Last night we had what I thought was an incredible concert with Marcy Playground. That was pretty good, and an unbelievable drone show. I can't even describe it with words, so hopefully they'll get some footage out for everybody because I thought that was pretty cool. I want to thank you both for joining me, and I want to let everyone know that you can get in touch with Rachel Bowman or Jeannine Frazier on LinkedIn. They're with Holland Home. Connect with them, start your own conversation, or just learn about what they're doing and support them, especially if you're in the Michigan area. And once again,
we'd love to have you.
Yeah. Yeah, when it gets to that point, you know where to go.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You got it. Did you find this episode helpful? Please send us some feedback, suggest a topic, or ask a question. Reach out to CMMS Radio if you need a co-pilot on your CMMS project. Visit CMMSradio.com and use the What's on Your Mind link. Thank you for tuning in to CMMS Radio, your resource for all things CMMS, from selection to implementation, to help you make better choices, learn from industry experts, and have a successful CMMS journey.